Welcome to the Vocal Sound Healing Podcast. My name is Alexandra Rigazzi-Tarling. I'm a vocal coach and technician and a vocal sound healer and vocal sound healing trainer. I've been working with voice for well over 25 years and training vocal sound healing practitioners for about the last 10 years. And I bring all things healing voice and sound healing to this podcast for discussion. So thank you very much for joining me today. And we're actually now at episode 19, which I find very exciting because I've managed to actually commit to doing these podcasts up to 19 episodes. So this is an exciting thing for me. And this episode is entitled A Healing Journey, a Healing Voice Journey, Anne-Marie Mullin, Resilience, Practice, and Following Your Gut. So, over some of the next podcasts, I'm going to be talking to different people who have really blown me away with their commitment to their healing voice journey, working with themselves through vocal physiology, with healing sound, and with what they find within them as a result and an unfolding of that personal and vocal development. So, today I'm joined by Irish vocalist and songwriter Anne-Marie Mullin, all the way from Las Vegas. So, hi, Anne-Marie, it's lovely to have you with us. Thank you for joining me. And if I may, I'm
Thank you,
gonna,
Alexandra.
no, it's my pleasure. It's just wonderful to have you here and to chat with you. And I think the best thing for me to do is just to give a brief introduction, just to tell listeners a little bit more about why you're here, how it started, and so on. So just bear with me, and then we'll get into some conversation. So, um, you might know Anne-Marie by the name Lola. This was her band name when she was part of the Gypsies, when she was just 16 years old, and they toured internationally. And Annie was plunged into the limelight, winning third place in the Irish National Song Contest, which led to records and TV appearances. She worked in the studio with Bill Whelan, who many of you will know as the creator of the well-known show Riverdance. She went on to be a backing vocalist for the RTE Light Orchestra when Ireland went to Eurovision. And then next came Vegas with the group The Big Eight. And to cut a long story and I think flourishing career shorter, just for the purpose of this introduction, around 6 years later, Annie found herself with a residency at the Riviera in Vegas, singing 6 shows a week and rubbing shoulders with the stars. And over this period of about 5 years, while she was at the Riviera singing night after night, Annie felt things starting to change with her voice. And she started to feel the joy slipping away from being a singer. And one day the voice just stopped altogether and it even hurt to speak. Annie began a pathway at that point into healing. Trained as a reflexologist, she practiced yoga and Reiki, and more recently, sound healing. She became a naked voice facilitator and works as a coach for the songwriter's journey with the brothers Corrin. And it wasn't until recently that Annie told me she started to feel a connection with her voice again, like it was coming from the heart, and with the added bonus that she could learn to rely on it again when she needed. And that's always such a joy for me to hear, and I can really resonate with that myself, coming from a performance background. So I think we're just going to dive in. My first question, Annie, and then we'll just take it from there. We'll see where it goes. For me, the voice is such a huge part of our identity. And so many people shy away from it. Perhaps that's why they do. But how does it feel to be with your voice now? And what was the turning point for you? Because it's been such a journey, but lately you've been feeling so much better about voice and everything that goes along with that. So where did that happen?
Wow, holy moly. Well, the universe has been spreading breadcrumbs for me from a very early age, which has led me to this point. And I think that's where the gut comes in, to listen to the gut. And for a long time, I didn't know how to say no. I didn't know how to, that's a whole thing, a whole other thing. But when somebody said, and I believe it was you, this is not about singing. This is not about singing. And because I was so, that was so inbred in me from a very early age, I had a natural singing voice. Didn't take any lessons. The nuns told my mother I had a lovely voice, and she ran with that. I was in talent contests, and one thing led to another. Is like my life just snowballed, and I wasn't sitting here going, "Oh, I wish this would happen," or "I wish that would happen." I mean, somewhere inside there had to be an intention, but it just kind of went. And so now when I hear my voice, I remember how it used to feel when I was a little child, running through the fields, pretending I was a horse, singing from my heart and soul. There was more of an inner directed voice. It wasn't about performance at all. So the voice that I hear today is very much that it is not performative. And it surprises me now when I go to sing a song or something. It's just more. It has that intimacy to it,
So it's almost been a
where
journey of going back to where it all began and that sort of
yeah,
organic sound. And then from
yes,
from bringing in, I suppose, the sound, but it's the feeling of that
yeah,
sound, bringing that into then whatever it is you're doing. It's bringing that joy into it in some way.
absolutely. And over these past years, I consider myself a sound healer for myself. And when I would go to do it for other people, there was this sort of imposter syndrome that would come up for me because I was still going into the performative aspect of things because it was ingrained in me.
Mm.
It's what I had to do.
Mm.
Big songs, big productions, all those years ago. And so I wasn't liking how my voice sounded when I would go to do sound healing with other people. I'm going, what's going on here? What is wrong here? Everybody knows I can sing. I can sing. I can make sound. But I started to question, where's it coming from?
Mm.
What does this, what's left over after the sound? And there was confusion. There was unease, imposter syndrome. Like, I can't do this. I actually heard myself saying, I can't do this. And that's the kiss of death for me. And I think that's probably when I started to say that, I shook myself up and I said, no, you're not believing in that. No, this is not who you are. You have a beautiful voice. You have a beautiful heart and soul, and you want to share that
Mm.
with
And
the universe.
and that's it's just so beautiful and it's I'm listening almost with fresh ears again to everything you're saying. And
Hmm.
just given what you've explained, could you, if it's possible, to just recall when you were performing back, at the Riviera,
Hmm.
Vegas, night after night and singing and singing. What was it? What was that feeling inside when you sort of, it's almost like the voice and the performance is one thing and the person moves away from that. It's almost like two separate things. How did that? other than the voice loss, which I think is the last point, isn't it? How did that manifest in how you felt in your life? What happened there? If you don't mind touching on that, because I know it's
Hmm.
quite a painful thing, isn't it, that separation, and I've experienced it myself. But I'd just love to hear, just
Yeah.
so we can really relate now to how to this wonder that you're feeling now.
Well, to be brutally honest, I was steeped in victim consciousness. I was steeped in old beliefs and steeped in thinking um, that people wanted me to be a certain way and I had to show up like that. So the masks that I was wearing back then, um, even though I could step on stage and get the goosebumps and give people the goosebumps, because there was only one way to do it, which was from my heart and soul. But I was like a human jukebox. I'd be singing Total Eclipse of the Heart at 4 o'clock in the morning with drunk people all. And I wasn't a drinker or a smoker. I was a good girl. But it just started to wear down and something inside of me. And again, to be brutally honest, I had failed relationships. I had already been married and divorced by the time I got to the residency in Riviera, at the Riviera in Las Vegas. And so that took its toll on me as well. There was a lot of guilt and shame, particularly when I would think about my family in Ireland, that we became kind of estranged because I was too afraid to really tell them what was going on. So I was bottling a lot of stuff up. You can't do that, as human beings, we need to express. And yes, my singing helped me do that. But at one point in time, I just kind of, I just couldn't do it anymore. I could not do it anymore. I just felt so bad. I lost the joy. And there was no comparison in the end to where I started out.
Mhm. It's
I was lost.
Yeah, yeah, and it's really just listening to this from a sort of healing voice point of view. Everything that you said about bottling everything up and so far from where you'd come from, and it's just you can just switch the performance on and it just works in the moment. But inside, when we think about our voice as this tool of expression to this other part of ourselves, this part of ourselves that connects deeply with who we are. And when we're not connecting deeply with who we are and when something else has taken that place, the voice just gets to a point where it says, well, I don't know what I'm expressing anymore because it's certainly not you. It's
Yeah.
that sort of complete, like two people, certainly what I experienced is like two people in one body, the performer and then the person that I actually was. So this is
And
where,
yeah. And the person that I actually was, I was confused about because I wasn't being honest with myself. I was playing roles, you know. And when I first lost my voice, if I may go there right now, again, the universe, the breadcrumbs, I couldn't listen to the radio. So a lot of the music that was happening in the 90s and the early 2000s, I don't recognize it. I don't know popular music. For about 20 years, I was out of popular music. But what I did listen to was Stephen Halpern.
okay.
And I just got goosebumps thinking about how that affected me because I listened to his thing yesterday. I said, why was I listening to Stephen Halpern? And the message I got was because you started to breathe again. Those arpeggios and the softness of the arpeggios were having you having you breathe again. And it took a long time before I could get some sound out, but with between Louise Hay and her affirmations, Stephen Halpern, practicing yoga, listening to a lady called Bella Ruth Naparstek, who does guided visualization, and Wayne Dyer. Those were my 5 friends. And they were my saviors because I started to talk to myself positively.
Mm.
And I actually even went and did an experiential training that kind of slapped me upside the head and said, wake up to yourself.
And that's
You
the
know,
start of that spiritual part, isn't it? That healing path, because we talk about, what
yeah.
is a healing journey? What is a spiritual path? And so many times I've spoken to people, and I think even, on the podcast we've talked, and it's that feeling of coming home to yourself, isn't it? And actually it might not be one thing. It's like you said, your 5 friends, where you place your attention, where you place your consciousness. And it's not an easy journey, is it? Because you're wavering between this new pathway and moving forward and not knowing where that's going to go, not actually knowing what that is. Because it's not necessarily about doing something, it's about feeling a certain way. But if you know just that little increase of I feel happier, I feel more whole, you're working towards just the building blocks again. And I suppose as well for you being so young when you were just catapulted into the performance world, and I think so many performers are. You don't question it. You just think, well, this is happening, and everyone around me seems very happy about it. So I'll go there. And I think that, there are many happy times. I mean, it's certainly not, it's the worst thing in the world. There's lots of happiness about that career, but it can take you away from yourself because you're so young. And I suppose the thing is we don't necessarily know who we are when we're that young. So it's almost like learning again, isn't it? Starting again from building, or perhaps, starting from that point where you left off and building again
Mm,
those parts of yourself without needing to please anybody else. It's actually doing it
yeah.
for you. It's
Yeah.
the people pleaser performance syndrome, isn't it? And I guess, we talked about the title for today, and you talked about following your gut. That was the resilience and the bit following your gut. And it's if you don't follow your gut, certainly as singers, I think the voice just says, right, you're not following it, so I'm done. And then you have no choice but to follow your gut. So yeah, it sounds like with your 5 friends there that you listed, that was the step on the pathway.
Yeah, and it was all about the feeling, that I got from those practices. And I call them friends because I felt nurtured within myself. But I also felt like I was in a turbulent sea, or I was traversing mountains and stuff because I still had all my stuff with me and didn't really know how to manage it. So in a sense, it was kind of bypassing.
Mm.
You hear about people bypassing uh, uh, and not getting to the root of the matter. Well, over the years, I've gotten to the root of many matters, and I haven't been afraid to peel off the onions, the onion skins and all that kind of stuff.
So it is a
And
fearlessness, isn't it? It's a fearlessness, in the sense that it is peeling that onion, and you think, oh, I've dealt with that and I've peeled that layer, and then you're presented with another layer, don't you?
it's courage. It's courage. It's what I call courage. Stepping forward, taking a look, and then coming to that point where you can say to yourself, where I could say to myself, I am not my thoughts. I am not these things. I am not the story I tell. I remember walking into a room and the first thing I felt everybody had to know.
Mm.
Like, and that comes from childhood in Ireland, being told, don't be too full of yourself.
Mm.
You know, you used to walk in a room, you used to put people at ease and let them know that you're not a threat. And so you come in and you go, oh yeah, I had a terrible time with this, or that, but that, and you tell them stuff that's really none of their business. But then you bring it up because I'm trying to fit in,
Mm.
trying to belong. I'm performing. I'm trying to prove
Mm.
that I'm a good person or whatever. I have left behind the masks that led me down that rabbit hole.
Mm.
And, the periods of low self-esteem and self-doubt, they come little bits in little bits.
That's being human, though, isn't it? That's being
It is,
human,
it
that
is
ebb and
being
flow.
human,
Yeah.
but I don't express any of it in order to get attention.
Mm.
There's a wonderful term in John O'Donoghue's book, Anam Cara, and it's about surrounding yourself with people who you can kind of tell anything to, but they know that you don't need anything from them. There's no fixing. There's no. So I know I'm getting off the beaten path here, but it's
No, but
really
I think that's,
important.
and having, no, I think it's a really important thing to consider because I think if you're coming from a performance world, there are so many people around you that are actually in it for their own gain, and that's just the nature of the business. It is a business. And actually, when you remove yourself from a life of business, which being a performer is, because your agent, your teachers, your coaches, your colleagues, your band members, all the people that you're with are in it for that business. And so then actually, when you remove yourself from that life and you just think, oh, hang on a minute, there are people around me that I can just be with because we
Yeah.
like to be together. And that's nothing other, that's not romantic relationship, nothing. It's just I can be with these people and I can be myself. They don't know me as anything other than just me. And I think that surrounding ourselves with people like that or just a few people like that is part of that healing journey. And I don't know if I've shared it on the podcast, but certainly with people I share, have shared this with you, certainly my journey. I remember, and perhaps you relate to this, I always remember people coming to me when I, was a performer and a singer and coming saying, oh, hi, Alexandra, how's the singing going? So it was never, hi, Alexandra, how are you? It was always, hi, Alexandra, how's the singing going? Because somewhere in that whole performance world, we're defined as human beings as being the one who pursues that performance career. And that's it. So it's fully, we're getting to that point where when you decide, actually, there's another part of me, then
Hmm.
it's, for me, that was the sort of catalyst. Hang on a minute, why is everyone looking at me as this sort of one-dimensional being that only does this? It's such a big thing.
Yeah.
So I think you
Yeah.
made a really important point. And for people listening who perhaps are in the performance world and sort of crossing over into that healing world, I think, there are people out there that they do the performance thing because there was no other option. If you had a voice, then that's what you did. Now with the birth of sort of sound healing and vocal sound healing, there's another pathway. Um, which certainly didn't exist when I first started, singing and sounding. No one had heard of vocal sound healing back in 1980, whatever it was. So, it was a different world. But if we just jump forward now, because I mean, I could sit and chat to you. I was always like this on podcasts. I could sit and chat to people all day about their stuff. But yeah, and then particularly in the last year, certainly I know you have, and there's many people that you work with, and there's lots of avenues ex you explore. Certainly with me, you've been exploring the physiological side of voice and um, how that fits into the healing journey. But can we just talk about that? Because I've done a couple of podcasts on how really understanding the physiology of voice and how the voice works as a physical mechanism is a real gateway into healing and feeling at one and at peace with your voice. Just like perhaps you learn to play the piano or the violin, you learn to play your voice. Can we just have a little
Mhm.
chat about that and how it's informed your healing journey?
Well, I'm delighted to claim that I'm always a student.
Me too.
And I love to learn new things. And I love to tell people that I'm 72 years of age, 72 and a half now, and that I'm never going to stop, you know. Um, and when I met you at first, I think it was on Lucia's, you did a presentation for Lucia, and you were talking about all this stuff, and you were showing us pictures of the larynx, and you were doing all this, and I got, oh God, this is kind of too much in the moment. That's what I was thinking. And then I watched the second one that you did. I wasn't present for it. And I thought, I gave it a second shot and I thought, oh, there's something here. Um, and I said, Annie, you got to just put your mind to this, put your heart and soul in this. There's something here. And I did. So the physiological aspects of my voice have never really been touched upon. And your approach just, I saw an opening. Just the whole idea of keeping the tongue in the bottom of your mouth, like with a little bit of tape stuck to your teeth and going, and just, I was talking like this for a long time because I was practicing, making sure my tongue was forward, you know, and it's in the practice. So I started to really grasp what you were talking about. And really what it is the simplicity of what you teach, but the utter importance of what you teach started to really get in. I'm sorry for that first time when I went, no, this is too much, but I came back. I was
Yeah.
resilient. I
Oh,
said, no, no, no.
don't be sorry.
So, so, just the hum, keeping the back teeth apart and keeping the tongue and the gormless thing. I look like my sister when I do that. Mm, mm, as opposed to mm, this is what I was doing because I was trying to create resonance outside of my body, not feeling it inside my body. And this is where the unlearning comes in for me because I want to hear it. I want others to hear it. I want others to feel it, but they're not going to feel it if I'm forcing it. And from doing the exercises that you have given me, there is ease. There is, oh, and then I'll sing, like I love our Wednesdays when I watch the re-recording of your vocal technique. And I love that you teach us a song at the end. And whatever song you teach us at the end, I use it in my singing group the next day because it's great preparation. Um, yeah, there's just so much that I could say here, but mostly I just love that I now accept that it's not about singing. It's not about being this. I mean, I feel like I could be a better performer now because of what I've learned from you. And when I say performer, I mean, because there was a time when I did everything that you're teaching, but because of forcing and having to show up a certain way, it was erased
So,
because
yeah.
I could make sound. I, I, I think I told you, there were days when I woke up and I would be like this, go to the doctor, she'd give me a celestone shot, and then I could sing like a bird at night. You
So
know how
instead,
harmful that is?
I do, and I have been in I haven't fortunately had to do it, but I've been in situations where I've been asked to do it. And the reason why, for me, the physiological aspect is so healing for voice users is that instead of having to go off and put, your health in the hands of someone who's giving you a shot, you understand how to rehabilitate your own voice. So for me, you'd start off with the exercises and the stuff we've worked with. It would start to bring the voice back. You'd work daily with those practices so that the tension doesn't move into the mechanism, which then holds. And if the mechanism is tight, you're sending signals to the brain that you're in a stress response. The whole system is responding
Yeah,
to this. So what I hear from you, and one of the reasons why, I really wanted to talk to you is because you have taken that work and you have brought it into your life in every possible way. And the reason why that is so amazing is because so many people, I can't tell you how many people will take the exercise, come to a session, do the exercises. Maybe I see them again 2, 3 weeks' time, and they haven't done any of that work. So they use
hmm,
the session as a time just to do those exercises. But what you have really grasped, and the thing that I go on and on and on about, and this is the resilience that we're talking about here as well, is that it is the practice. Muscle memory doesn't change by having a session once every 2, every 3 weeks. You could go and pay thousands for a voice session. But if
yeah,
you're not doing the work between the sessions, it's not going to happen. Muscles need continual work and they need to understand why they're doing something. So we'll always talk about why and what we're achieving. So we've got this, in terms of, sort of neuroplasticity, we understand the intention and emotion behind that intention as to
right.
what will be achieved is healing, will bring about healing. So we're working in that way. And you have been so committed to that journey of bringing those exercises in. Even, like you said, you'll do it in the car, you'll do it here, you'll do it there, you'll bring it into a group, you'll watch the vocal conditioning session, you'll bring that into your day. You have completely embodied all of it. And as a result, you're seeing this shift in your voice, in everything, in that healing journey. And for me, that's incredible because it's rare, and I guess blowing the trumpet for this, for people to bring it into their daily life. And that's what you've done. So, for me, wow, it's been such a pleasure to work with someone. And I have other people as well that I work with that are like this, and they
Hmm.
really see, you know, why that's important. So, um,
Hmm. Yeah, and I just like to say one more thing about working with you, that when I did my one-on-one with you, um, your ability to catch the subtle aspects of certain things, like even a small shift in the shoulders or the scoop that I was doing, because I was scooping. And in the first couple of sessions, I could barely make a sound with you because my mind was struggling. My mind was I need to practice. I need to get the muscle memory into my body. It's like if I'm learning a song, I'm in the car and I'm going, you know, people pulling up beside me, and I'm
It's
sounding out
just
the song with
lovely.
the bubble, and I just wave at them. But yeah, working live with you was so good because you were able to see in the moment when I was reverting back to the safe way for me, or the way for me to make sound, just so you could hear me. And this is not what it's about at
Stepping into
all.
the
It's a,
performer in the session. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. It,
Creep
it's,
in.
it's, it's, yeah, it really does creep in. So I practice every day.
Mm.
And I keep the old the sessions. I have you in a folder, and I go back. Oh, I'll do this one today, or I'll do this. So I basically do a lesson
Mm.
every day now. Why do I do that? Because I smile. It makes me smile because I can start to feel the resonance inside my body. And I know that when I feel the resonance inside my body, I don't have to create a huge sound outside. Don't have to make anybody hear me.
So actually,
But they hear me anyway. They hear me
they hear you
anyway, but it's,
anyway. Yeah. And you're reconnecting with, through the exercises, through the release and everything, you're reconnecting with that inner resonance, that inner sound. But the exercises and everything allow you to produce that sound outwardly anyway. But actually it's about drawing it all in, bringing it all back to the self. And of course that's where the voice healing starts. We start with the hum, we start with the simple vowels, we start by sending that intention around the body with those sounds. And everyone's coming at it from a different direction. And that's why it's so interesting to have you here as well, Annie, because you're coming from this life of singing, of song, of doing all of this. And somebody else might be coming from a place of having never sung or being completely shut down and afraid to sound. And someone else might be coming from, something completely different, but we meet at this point of that inner resonance. And from there, that grows. And it's, I think you were so brave because you've brought this up, and those sessions for someone like you when we started working one to one, for someone like you that has had so much success as a vocalist and worked so much, to be as brave as you were to come and unpick, and like you said, unlearn some of the habits you've been holding, which have allowed you to stand up and do what you need to do, to have the courage to come and unpick that. And then to take it when, as I said, the work is done between the sessions, to take it away. And I think the other thing, and you'll probably agree with me here, hopefully, is we obviously being in different continents, we worked online and we would always record the session. So I would say to you afterwards, have a look back at that. You'll see what you're doing, and then you'll see why I said what I said. And I think
mm-hmm.
you did. You went back and you thought, oh yeah, she wasn't just saying it, she was right. Not that about me being
Yeah.
right, but you could
No,
see
no,
it
no, no,
for
you're right. You're
yourself.
absolutely right. And one, it, if you want to accomplish something, and it's not about grasping or wanting to be better than anything or anybody else, because there is no there's no comparing here. The only comparison I have is to myself. Oh, that sounded a little better today than it did yesterday. Oh, good. There's progress here. But I'm not looking to sound like Adele or Whitney Houston, God rest her soul. Um, I used to try that. I don't do that anymore. It's not about being anything or anyone else or comparing myself to anybody else. It's just about, this is my vibration. This is my resonance. This is my frequency. And it's different on a daily basis. And I accept that. But as long as I'm coming from that place of not pushing or trying or anything like that, then it's mine.
Yeah.
It's a very personal thing. It's just me.
And actually, you've completely hit the nail on the head there. Coming back to that is the healing journey. And from that place, for any, performers that are listening, from that place, you can put that sound through any genre. A genre is just a filter. A genre, whatever you're singing, contemporary, popular, opera, so on and so forth, you take that connection with your vibration. Because we've said it before, our physiology is completely unique. So therefore, the sound that comes up and resonates within your body, your pharynx, your everything, your skull, all of it, it will be unique to you. It cannot be the same as everybody else. But the thing that can be the same, if we want to put it in a sort of collective term for performance, is the genre. But why is it that you can talk about Whitney Houston, you can talk about Adele, and straight away we go, oh yeah, I know that voice? Because they were connected. And if they've had any problems throughout the way, then they've worked with people to help keep that connection, to maintain that connection with their self and their sound. So I think you've hit the nail on the head. And just because we're going to finish up now, if you had to offer any sort of advice from your experience to anybody that's, looking to find their sound, and you've given us so much already, but just some sort of perhaps final anything you feel you want to share just with someone who's looking to really develop that sound for their own healing. And, now with healing voice work, people are coming that want to get up and lead a group with sound and song and chant and mantra. Any words of wisdom, no pressure.
um, well, as I have alluded to, I am open to learning all the time. So that's where my resilience is. Um, and all I can bring to a session is my own authenticity, my own congruency. If I'm trying to be like anybody else, it's not going to work. So intention is so important even before we walk into a session. This is why I practice Reiki. And knowing too that this is just a vessel. We're not going in there with the attitude of, I'm going to teach these people something because I'm so great or whatever. Yes, I can be having affirmation inside my body, like I am resilient, I am a powerful, creative, soulful, heart-filled woman. I can be knowing all those things about myself. But I walk into something like an empty vessel and I hold space. Then I put the sound in the space. But what am I putting in the space? It's just me. And who am I? We're going to ask that question on a daily basis. Who am I? Well, I'm not the person I was yesterday. How am I managing my state of being? State of being to me, I wake up every morning, I do gratitude, and I check in with my body. What's my state of being today? My state of being wanted to go out and clean up the whole backyard yesterday, and I went and did that. But I hummed my way all the way through it. I I do things from the heart. Do things from your heart and soul. Check in with the heart and soul. And if your gut tells you, nah, believe it.
Mm.
Check in with your fear, check in with your courage, check in. Am I not doing this because it's scary? Oh, Peter Hokey, I'm going to jump in there because it is scary. So there, but know the difference. Know the difference. And I have been doing this work for years and years and years, and that's why I can even say it. Because I know the difference between when I'm being a scaredy cat because I'm afraid of what people might say or opinions or whatever, and when it's just not safe. I know the difference. And the scaredy cat thing usually gets put in its little box for a while. And the nerves are there, but I work through it. And maybe that's because that's a testament to being a performer all those years, But
And also
yeah,
it's normal to, when we talk about nerves, it's the body releasing energy to help you, but it's just we don't need to release too much
yeah,
energy all at once. That's what it is. So
yeah.
thank you so much. That's it's just so
I just want to ask you one thing. How was that response? It was supposed to be one sentence, and it went all over the place.
it can never be one sentence. It can never be one sentence. No, 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 no. It wouldn't be a podcast, would it, if it was just one sentence? So, that's the thing. No, but that's amazing. That's amazing. Thank you. And thank you for sharing, so openly, your everything that you've experienced, because in some way somewhere that will be helpful for someone. And it's been helpful for me just listening to you, just absorbing and hearing all of that authenticity that you bring, with you. And I think that's it, isn't it? That's what we're always talking about, the authentic voice, the authentic sound. It's authentic when we're on board with that heart and when we're there. Yes, I'm here because this is where I want to be. This is where I want
Yeah,
to be. So thank
yeah,
you. Thank you so
yeah.
much. Right.
Thank
Well,
you, sweetheart.
no, it's my pleasure. And well, we're going to leave it there. As I said, we could talk, we could just go on, couldn't we? So perhaps there'll be a part two at some other point. But for the moment, thank you so much, Annie, for being with us today and sharing all of your words of wisdom and, your wonderful sound that you bring to this podcast and all of your words of wisdom. Thank you to everyone that has tuned in today. And don't forget to like and subscribe to YouTube or Spotify, depending on where you're hearing this, or both if you want. And don't forget you can share the episode with anyone that might find it helpful. So I look forward to joining with you again. And for now, just to say, stay in that heart space. Let the voice come from
Hmm.
the heart. I think that's where we're at. So thank you so much, everyone. Take good care, and we'll speak to you soon. Bye for now.
Thank you.